A very good day to everyone. Today I will be presenting my paper titled Engagement of Contemporary Communities with the Shared Heritage Resources of the Dwindling Minorities of Central Calcutta. Calcutta, or Kolkata as it is known today, has seen an influx of immigrants from different parts of the world from its earliest days, like the Armenians, the Baghdadi Jews, Parsis, the Chinese, who made their way to Calcutta for commercial pursuits along with European traders. Some new communities, like the Anglo-Indians, were also formed due to this synthesis. Due to the flourishing trade established by the British East India Company, Calcutta, which was only but a group of hamlets in 1690, rapidly transformed into a truly cosmopolitan city with diverse ethno-religious communities who contributed a piece of their own identity to the city's heritage. Chiefly being involved in trade, these communities settled in the historic bazaars of the city, and soon these areas, parts of Bara Bazar, Tirata Bazar, and Bow Bazar, also known as Central Calcutta today, developed a culturally pluralistic character. Some of these communities made Calcutta their homeland, and some returned back to their places of origin or migrated to the west. All of them, however, left behind a large stock of architectural resources commemorating their life in the city. These structures are architecturally diverse in terms of their functional and spatial typology, scale and proportion, construction techniques, building materials, and ornamentation, with both local and colonial influences, lending a unique architectural character to the urban fabric. However, the scenario is different today. With large-scale outmigration of these communities, their population have dwindled to a minuscule percentage. Being located in the historical dense nucleus of the city, this gap has been filled up by communities of today who are either unaware of these heritage resources or attach little or no relevance to these structures. The issue of conservation of the shared built heritage of the dwindling minority communities has taken a backseat in these densely commercial neighborhoods, due to which the structures are facing a threat of encroachment, abandonment, and dereliction. This study asks the question, who now takes ownership to ensure the sustained conservation of these shared built heritage resources? The paper aims to demonstrate that these heritage resources are not only of significance to bygone communities, but are also significant in the present times by virtue of their historical, sociocultural, artistic, and architectural characteristics which exhibit universal values. I will now be talking briefly about the syncretism in architecture of the diverse shared built heritage resources, beginning with the Armenian Church. The Armenian Church of the Holy Nazareth was built in 1724 by a Persian architect, owing to which it has significant Middle Eastern influences. It is rectangular in plan with a wide double-story central nave flanked by an aisle on each side. The columns dividing the nave and aisles are of stout proportions, supporting pointed cinquefoil arches of a unique geometry. The conical steeple with a cross above the octagonal drum of the clock tower, which now acts as an entrance porch, is a characteristic feature of Armenian churches globally, including the Cathedral of Holy Echmiadzin in Armenia, the Akdamar Church on Lake Van in Turkey, and the Armenian Church of the Holy Resurrection in Dhaka. The Jewish community built three large religious structures in the city: the Neve Shalom Synagogue in 1831, rebuilt in 1911, the Bethel Synagogue in 1856, and the Magen David Synagogue in 1884. The synagogues follow a typical floor plan, having a large rectangular prayer hall with a wide central nave, which is triple-heighted, and two double-heighted side aisles. Located centrally on the nave is the bima, a raised platform where the rabbi conducts service. On the apsidal end of the nave is the hehal, or sanctuary, roofed by a hemispherical dome, where the Torah scrolls of the holy books are kept. The ceiling above, painted blue with stars, represents the heaven with the plaque having the 10 commandments. U-shaped seating is present on the side aisles in the mezzanine. The external facade of the Bethel Synagogue is traditional to the community, adorned with Judaic iconography. On the twin pilasters dividing the three bays of the front facade are scroll-like depictions framing the hexagonal Star of David. The central bay has a large stained glass window with lancet arches over the entrance. The central bay also features a menorah, a 7-branched candelabrum flanked by 2 stars of David on each side. Above this is a decorative pediment also serving as a clock tower. On the 2 side bays are bifora windows with elongated openings of unusual proportions. The Magen David Synagogue is grander, built at a time when the Jewish community of Calcutta were at their peak of their commercial pursuits. There is delicate incised plasterwork on the arch with floral patterns and excerpts from the Psalms in Hebrew on the archivolt. Stained glass to the rose window and the fan lights bring in a play of diffused light into the interiors. Much of the materials used for the construction of this synagogue was imported from Europe. The facade of the Magen David Synagogue blends European-style classicism with a traditional spatial layout, indicating a shift from a traditionally Judo-Arabic community to a Judo-European one. Inspired by the multiple churches in its vicinity, it takes on a more popular element, the steeple. It is designed in the Renaissance Revival style, as seen in the series of double-arched Roman windows on its facade, the moldings along the arches, dentelated cornices, and rusticated coins. The synagogues exhibit a brilliant blend of traditional architecture of a diaspora community in keeping with the colonial architecture of the times. Calcutta has two Parsi fire temples, the Rustamji Kavastri Banaji Agyari, built in 1839, and the Anjuman Atash Adran, built in 1912. The spatial layout of the temples is fairly simple, typical to most fire temples in Western India and even Middle Asia. The Banaji Agyari is placed on a high plinth and entered through a flight of steps into a porch, which leads into a rectangular room with an antechamber or sanctum, Atashka, containing the Atash or holy flame. The sanctum has an opening in the roof to allow the smoke from the fire to escape. Borrowing from European forms, the Banaji Agyari is designed in the neoclassical style. 4 Tuscan columns supporting an entablature adorn the front facade symmetrically. Large wooden louvered screens, a shading device responding to the local climate, and decorative cast iron grills with floral patterns surround the porch. Another feature borrowed from Roman Renaissance architecture are the alternating triangular and segmental pediments capping the 5 openings of the facade. Unlike other fire temples in the country, especially those in Western India, the external facades of the Banaji Agyari are not heavily embellished with Zoroastrian iconography. The Anjuman Atash Adran, on the other hand, is heavily adorned in both colonial as well as Zoroastrian elements. Iconography in the form of the Lamasu, an Assyrian protective deity with the head of humans and bodies of winged bulls or lions. The Faravar, a winged sun disk with a male figure in the center. And the Holy Fire are repeatedly expressed in the stained glass paintings, etchings on frost glass, wall panels, and cast iron grills in the tympanons of arches. The Chinese in Calcutta were noticed around Benting Street, Fears Lane, Tirata Bazaar, and parts of Chikpur Road, forming a distinctive Chinatown. This neighborhood has 6 diverse Chinese temples, each belonging to a particular clan, having their own multifarious deities with no typical spatial layout being followed. Like all settlements of the Chinese diaspora, Calcutta Chinatown incorporated many local features and also adopted colonial elements. The temples are not more than 2-storied, often rectangular in plan, with a veranda with cast iron railings and a timber screen running along the length of the facade to cut off the harsh sunlight responding to the local climate. The external facades of the temples have a distinctive rectangular entranceway with Chinese calligraphy on brightly colored plaques on 3 sides of the door opening and hanging lanterns, making the temples stand out despite their humble scale. One of the temples, the Tungan Temple, borrows from neoclassical elements like fluted columns with Ionic capitals, ornamental and dentelated cornices, and semicircular pediments with festoons. Another temple, the Sieb Temple, has a distinctive curlicue sloping roof with clay tiles and upturned corners, which borrows strongly from mainland traditional Chinese temple architecture. The interiors of the temples are richly decorated with an intricately carved wooden screen at the threshold of the shrine room. A profusely carved wooden structure hangs from the roof with imageries of flowers, fruits, birds, and other mythical figures. Chinese weapons of war are displayed in most of the temples. The interiors are in a bright vermilion, yellow, and green, which are auspicious colors used in the traditional architecture in the mainland. Through the above discussion on some of the built heritage of the migrant communities in central Calcutta, it is seen that the architectural characteristics of these structures are not necessarily foreign or alien to the communities of today. The structures are a unique mix of the architectural styles of a traditional community, amalgamated with prevalent colonial features along with elements that are native to the city, expressed through differences in spatial layout, scale and proportion, street interface, materials, construction techniques, ornamentation, and iconography. After the Indian independence, many of these communities who were largely dependent on the British for social security started migrating to the West for better opportunities, unsure of their position in independent India. Political changes like the formation of Israel in 1948 and the Indo-Chinese War in 1962 caused further emigration of these communities. To this day, the responsibility of protecting this cosmopolitan historic stock rests with the members of the ethno-religious communities who are largely unable to keep up with this task due to the continued migration of the younger generation. Hence, it is essential to delve into participatory approaches to mobilize the contemporary communities to safeguard the heritage resources and prevent them from falling into abandonment. 3 sites were identified. Firstly, the office-going population at Old Chinatown surrounding the Chinese temples. Secondly, the shopkeepers and informal hawkers along Brabon Road at the entrance of the Armenian Church, the Neve Shalom Synagogue, and the Magen David Synagogue. And thirdly, wholesale electrical traders surrounding the Banaji Agyari. Semi-structured interviews were carried out with these communities to gauge their perception of the heritage sites, which were then summarized, and the analysis of which is being presented here today. The Chinese temples of Old Chinatown and Tiretta Bazaar lie in a dense area dotted with public and private office buildings. These buildings enveloping the Chinese temples are detrimental to the neighborhood, as they not only disrupt the visual harmony and disturb the human scale of the neighborhood, but also take away from the significance of the heritage resources. Disregard for the built heritage can also be seen through the urban planning undertaken by local authorities, which has allowed the construction of monstrous structures in the close vicinity of the temples. This disconnect from the heritage resources was glaringly reflected in the survey undertaken with the office-going population, who were largely unaware of the historical and socio-cultural significance of the area. Most of the office-goers could not identify the 6 Chinese temples located within 300 meters of their workplaces. However, once informed, the respondents agreed to Old Chinatown being a significant heritage resource of Calcutta, justifying its significance as different communities live here. This diversity gives Calcutta its identity. They are identity makers, they are places of worship, and they are a lineage of a section of a society, and they present a cultural fusion. However, some respondents also said that these structures had very little relevance to them personally, since they had no associational value with these structures, and that the temples belonged to a community whom they had little in common with. The shopkeepers and hawkers on Brabon Road have also been engaged in business in this area for more than 2 generations now. And while they were aware of the presence of the Armenian Church and the 2 synagogues, they were largely unaware of their significance. A majority of them felt that the structures were historical places and touristic places and places of worship. However, only a handful of them felt that these heritage resources were relevant to them personally. Similarly, the traders at the wholesale market at Ezra Street, enveloping the Banaji Agyari, felt that it was unnecessary to protect the Agyari since it has been closed for many years and do not have any worshippers, and also because the significance of the commercial activity in the premises far exceeded its heritage value to them, and they view these premises only as a place for their business with no personal association to it. In all these cases, the commercial establishments abutting the structures have driven the presence of these structures to the background, making them almost inconspicuous and undermining their heritage due to a lack of positively reinforced relationship with the structures. Through this study, it was evident that there lies a key question of relevance. How can communities of today be convinced to protect heritage that they do not see as their own? How can this built heritage, whose original custodians are too few in number, be made relevant to a community that does not inherently identify with it? The neighborhood is a true representation of shared built heritage in the city with far-reaching cross-cultural connections, and hence the involvement of local contemporary communities in the preservation of this priceless heritage is essential. There is an urgent need to generate awareness and recognition of the historicity of these neighborhoods, which the communities of today presently identify as workplaces only. Heritage professionals collaborating with members of the ethno-religious community can help in organizing awareness-generating workshops at the heritage sites, sensitizing the communities of today of the historical and socio-cultural significance of the area, and creating the first level of interaction between the two major stakeholders. Heritage walks can be organized through the historic neighborhoods, guided by heritage professionals and members of the ethno-religious community to further their knowledge and inculcate a sense of pride in their workplace neighborhood. Inclusion of these occupational communities of today in the intangible cultural heritage of the ethno-religious communities through craft workshops, food festivals, culinary workshops, and similar events may result in an increased associational value with the historic neighborhood. Collaboration with the city's educational institutes can also be established to start the discourse on cultural exchange at a young age. Also, in a digital age, a web-based engagement through digital tools can be created with the help of the ethnic communities. At a later stage, the communities of today should also be able to recognize the current state of the heritage resources and identify their safeguarding needs. It is essential to ensure dialogue between the members of the ethno-religious communities, the communities of today, and the urban local bodies through public forums, focus group discussions, or roundtable discussions. This will encourage mutual understanding between the ethnic communities and the occupational communities to meet at a common ground, as well as directly address their concerns to political, civil, and professional representatives. Better coordination among these multiple communities will lead to better solutions and effective management of our cultural heritage resources. The Armenian, Jewish, Parsi, Chinese, and Anglo-Indian communities gave central Calcutta a unique, culturally pluralistic character. The diverse architectural heritage produced as a result are a rich blend of the traditional architecture of the community mixed with European stylistic elements and local techniques responsive to the climate of the city. They are an indispensable part of Calcutta's history, which is relevant not only to the community that built it and was once the stakeholder of, but also to the people of Calcutta today, as it bears testimony to the shared history of multiple cultures in the city. These structures should not be seen as merely houses of worships of communities of the past, but as exhibits of universal values of beauty in art and architecture, which are relevant even today. Through the study, it was evident that the needs and aspirations of the contemporary communities are presently not aligned with that of conservation of built heritage. A shift in attitude of the communities working here must be brought about from identifying the areas of Bara Bazar, Tirata Bazar, and Bo Bazar solely as workplaces to celebrating the cultural amalgamation that this cosmopolitan historic district represents. With the diminishing population of the migrant communities, it is the architectural heritage which plays a crucial role in retaining this identity. Sustained conservation of the shared built heritage resources of central Calcutta can only occur if communities of today take ownership of safeguarding these irreplaceable heritage resources and become active participants in the process of its conservation and planning. Thank you.